That video, huh? Ooh. All right, well, welcome our, see, I can't talk now, that video. Welcome-erpers, how are you? All right, so for those of you who don't know us, I am Sheila Amato, and this is my wife, Kimberly Amato. And we are your co-moderators for this panel. And before we begin this discussion, we want to acknowledge that the land that we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississauga of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, and the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississauga of the Credit. We are grateful for the opportunity to be here. Okay, now, let's bring out our favorite showrunner, Emily Andras.
It's already a disaster watching that video. It's already a disaster. That was beautiful, beautiful, and horrible, but it ended beautifully.
So I guess the first question, because we all know death happens, we can't outrun it.
No.
But we've seen what you've done with Wynonna Earp. Was that a conscious...
Oh, you guys have seen that? You've seen the show? No, I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. Was that a conscious decision to kind of fight that?
Definitely, 100%. And listen, I'm very careful. I have the privilege of knowing the bury your gays trope very well, just given the honor I've had of writing shows that matter so much to this community. I was very conscious of the fact that we had to handle this all with respectful gloves, respectful, sexy gloves. Yes, I was very conscious of it, and I think there's something in me that, I am pretty stubborn, and I have a real sense of justice, and those things that may make you angry made me angry too. So I was very happy that we were able to tell the story in the way we were able to. But yes, I would say it was conscious. What I would say I was not conscious of at all was what a terrible year it would be for lesbians and queer women on television the year we premiered. I had no idea how much it would matter and how much it would be needed, and all the things we did to kind of counter that. So,
What was the first instance where you were aware of the bury your gays trope?
I think like a lot of people, for me, it was Buffy. I think that Buffy was the first time I was quite kind of shaken by that storyline personally. I was quite shocked by it. And listen, there is a phenomenon in comic books and in drama, and our beloved Gail Simone, an incredible comic book writer, yes, incredible person, coined the term fridging, right? Which means basically when you kill a loved one to inspire a hero to take revenge or take action, right? But for me, the Tara death in Buffy, I just saw a lot of response online in fan forums and stuff like that. I just understood it felt a little cheap from a show I loved. And then just seeing kind of the response that the dedicated audience had to it made me really realize how much of an issue this was. And then starting to delve into it, I just did some work and looked at it and sort of discovered just the long history of bury your gays. But that was really the first one that personally spoke to me, I would say.
Did you ever come across that in the writer's room?
Constantly. As far as
Like it
trying
being
to fight
mentioned.
bury your gays?
Well, mentioning to utilize it to go forward with a narrative of a different character.
Yeah, all the time, right? Because the truth is, you're just exhausted in the writing room and you are looking for drama. That's the truth. And sometimes you know, we can talk about this, and I've talked about this a lot, like, death is a good storyline. Like, that sounds terrible, but unfortunately, we're all probably gonna have to face death once in our life. Not me, it's not for me, but you guys do you. I'm just gonna live forever, it's gonna be awesome. But, you know, that's a rich storyline, and I can think of lots of examples where it's been done beautifully and telling the story of grief and what that does to someone. But again, it's the shockingness of the death. It's the idea that you're tired and like, look, killing Nicole, for example, would have done a lot of stuff. And it was certainly suggested to us by producers. Do you know what I mean? Just to spur action. But the truth is, shooting her but still having her survive spurs the same action. Do you know what I mean? Like, Waverly's still pissed. Yeah. Like, Willa doesn't know that she hasn't killed Nicole. So, and because Nicole was a cop, I also felt that it wasn't cheap. It wasn't cheap to put Nicole in a bulletproof vest, and it was really smart. It made her even smarter, which was good because she's so hideous to look at. So I was like, but yeah, it comes up all the time, and like, often not maliciously. Does that make sense? Yeah. It's just like all characters are up for grabs on some level.
So then, kind of continuing on that point, then, putting Nicole in those situations where she survives, has that then become like sort of a thumbing your nose at the bury your gays trope?
I mean, I think it is. I think before I thumbed my nose at the bury your gays trope, what I did was stuff my show full of gay people. Do you know what I mean? like that is one queer Thanksgiving turkey we got going on the show. Both Canadian and American. We both celebrate Thanksgiving. So that also helped. I think having a show where you had so many characters who identified as queer did two things. Number one, it meant that no queer character had to represent all queer people. Do you know what I mean? And then you had a situation where they could have different personalities, and I felt like the danger was still real. And look, there were queer people on Winona we did kill, to be honest. So you guys are looking at me like Levi, Fish, Eamon, other people. Yeah.
So then what would you, if you have to kill a queer character, and this is a fan-submitted question.
Yeah.
What would be your guidelines and your rules in order to do that respectfully?
I'm very glad you didn't say who would it be. Yeah. It is really tricky as a writer, and I feel like I come from this incredible country you're all visiting called Canada. And I feel like we are a little bit ahead of the curve as far as, hopefully, maybe, we have our own problems, as far as how we treat queer characters. The ideal situation would be for me to get to a world where you can have all the characters you want, who are as diverse as you want, who identify how they want, both via gender and sexuality, and then it's not so much about having to protect anyone. Do you know what I mean? Like, I would die to write a trans Hannibal Lecter. Do you know what I mean? Or like a really cool, like it would have been great if Lucado was queer. Like, but we aren't there yet. Do you know what I mean? Because we haven't done right by our queer characters. So for me, to kill a queer character, you have to have a ton of queer characters on the show, and it truly has to be earned. And I think there are shows that have done that. Few and far between, but there are some.
So, sorry, I lost my train of
That's
thought there
okay.
for a minute. So, how can other creators then fight this trend of bury your gays?
I think it's naive now for any creator and writer to not be aware of this trend. And I think that you are fine to hold their feet to the fire. Do you know what I mean? I think that it is 2022. Last I looked, I've been in this convention center for 3 days, so who knows? I don't know if it's acceptable to not know about that trend. I think for me, just showing the damage that it has done to the community and all the articles that have been written, and I have footage of people bawling, like just when their favorite characters got killed. I think it's just about gently explaining why that's not cool anymore. But everything when you're show running is a compromise, right? So I think as a creator, you have to go into creation knowing that that is something you are just not going to compromise on. Like, I think that's key. I think you can compromise on everything else, the color of the sweater, the type of police car they're driving, but you just have to decide early on that you're just not going to let that happen.
So would that be your line in the sand that you're talking
Definitely,
about?
definitely.
Okay.
Yeah,
So then, a fan submitted question.
go for it.
If you could rewrite any ending that did not go well, which would it be?
Nobody's going to tweet this, right? I was fairly disappointed with Killing Eve. I personally, especially as an extraordinary show with such powerful characters, I felt that that could have been done in a way that was so much less cheap and shocking and true to the characters. And look, one of the characters was like a sociopathic assassin. Like, I think there's lots to be said there about what that character's fate should have been, but I feel the way it was done and how fast it was done, that was one I didn't love, personally. I bet the people who wrote Clexa wish they could go back in time and do it, though. But for me, Killing Eve was a more recent one that I was pretty stunned at, and I was just like, oh, I could see a path to do it differently. But you never know the factors, though, to be fair, that went into that decision. So, yeah.
Okay. So then, for us, seeing Waverly and Nicole have that wedding, right? It felt groundbreaking for us.
Oh, thank you.
But in some way, it's like we wouldn't believe it until we actually saw it, until it actually aired. So I don't know if anybody else felt that way, but it felt that way to me. Was the happy ending always in the cards for Way Hot?
I think so. I think Way Hot was the love affair of the show. Don't you guys think so? Yeah, it's like that was the traditional love story you would get that was heterosexual. I think obviously the original love story for the show for me was the Earp sisters. I want to say that carefully. And I think Doc Winona Dolls was very interesting. And what I also enjoyed personally was that I think Doc and Winona are really messy. You know what I mean? I don't think they were always great for each other. I think they were too much alike. I think that there was lots of toxic stuff that went down, lots of secret wives on both sides. But I really love that Way Hot was a true fairy tale. It was a true love at first sight. All the obstacles they encountered didn't diminish their love or care for one another. Yeah, it felt epic. My ambition is big. I want to write something epic that's queer, I think that's good, iconic, hopefully. So, yeah.
It was.
Thank you. Yeah.
So then,
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
so furthering on that, did you see, and it's a fan submitted question, did you see the trend go from bury your gays to marry your gays because of that? Because it did seem like a lot of characters got engaged after
Yeah, I mean, I honestly still think, would never say that Winona Earp was influential on other shows. I think there's a ton of queer creators out there fighting the same fights that I am fighting. Do you know what I mean? I really want to be careful with that. I think Legends did it great. There was tons of it. Do you know what I mean? They did it great, right? Amazing. I have every confidence that those writers knew early on what was going to go on. Two blondes together, though, that was groundbreaking. That blew my mind. I was like, they can have the same color of hair? Holy shit. Someone take a memo. Yeah, I mean, I think people would be fools not to notice how invested the LGBTQ community, especially queer women and queer people who identify as non-binary, are invested in these shows. If you build it, they will come. So, I know. It's a, I heard it. I heard it. I know. It's fine, you guys. My kid's totally not in the audience. It's okay. No, but I think both cynically, there's a huge audience for these types of storylines, being positive, and also, again, I think queer creators are this is my shot, I'm gonna push for it. And it's proof that it exists, that it's not gonna be a show killer, which I think for a long time it was, to be honest. You had shows for a long time where someone was a lesbian for one episode, and then they were JK. Yeah. Yeah.
So what are your favorite ships then?
Oh, man. Well, Way Hot's pretty high. I really love Way Hot. I feel like I don't want to toot my own horn, but I'm very tired. I feel like Bo and Lauren taught me so much on Lost Girl. Yes. And like my favorite thing about that show was like, obviously Bo was a bisexual succubus and was in like a very powerful love triangle, but the ship was very clearly going in one direction. And like, no matter how many people behind the scenes tried to steer it back towards heterosexuality, it just wasn't going that way at all. So that was really delightful. You know, that was an example of being like, this is groundbreaking and here's where the chemistry is. Favorite ships. I really liked Bly Manor. I thought that Danny and Jamie were amazing. And I often cite that example of a show that did a bury your gaze plot line, but extremely respectful. I think that that show was about death and being haunted and grief, and those characters managed to love each other and have time together, and it was about sacrifice and how we go on, and I thought it was beautifully done. I thought that was a beautiful example of how you could do it, how you can do a story about someone who's lost their partner and going through grief, but it doesn't diminish their love, and they're not punished for being gay or being together. Do you know what I mean? In fact, being together, Danny and Jamie, right? I feel like that gave them the strength to make the choices they had to make, which was so beautiful, right? And it reminded me a little bit of like Angel's Shield, like just that idea of like someone rising to the occasion because of their love, because of queer love. So I love that. I love them. I thought that was beautifully done.
And so to continue on the Bly Manor thread for a little bit, yes, their relationship is the exception rather than the rule. So then should we settle for representation any way we could get it, or do we push for stories like Way Hot and like Danny and Jamie?
I would never tell a single fucking Earper to settle for anything. I would never tell them that. But I do think personally, and I'm coming from a very personal place, in this environment, it's important to show up for stuff that is queer right now, if you can. I think that that's really, really important. You don't have to settle for bad storytelling, and you do not have to settle for bury your gaze, but like, it is important for you guys to consume queer content wherever you can, I think. I think that's really important, to continue to show up, to continue to show that there is an audience for these kind of happy storylines. But no, I don't think anyone should settle anymore. But I still watch Xena sometimes, and I'm like, remember, it was still good at the time. It was still fun. Yeah.
That's so painful.
It's so painful, but also like, they couldn't take it away from you, what you saw and what millions of people saw. Do you know what I mean? And communities were built off subtext, which is incredible. Yeah. So
Yeah, I mean, we were lucky to get subtext back there, so
Yes.
to get the wedding and get the relationship
Yes.
is still somewhat mind-blowing to me.
yes, which is crazy. I know.
So we do have a fan question for you.
Go.
They want to know, the networks keep creating content,
Yes.
but then they don't tell us about how many hours they're streamed, and then they kill said content.
Yes.
How do you feel about that when they keep creating but canceling and not giving
Wow,
it
this
a
is
chance?
a career-ending panel.
I am
right
so
now. This is like
I'm so
I did the
sorry.
murder mystery thing yesterday, and apparently I worked at the Didsbury Library, and I have to get a job there now. So,
Well, you can keep it
yeah,
general,
no, it's
just, you know.
family. We'll just talk about it. I think part of the challenge right now is why shows are getting canceled on the streamers that use algorithms is a mystery to everyone. Do you know what I mean? And I said this in my writing workshop. It's a little bit more broadly an issue to me when business people are trying to create art versus artists are trying to create art, right? Like if you're looking at an algorithm and math, yeah. And there's reasons to create art other than streaming and money and stuff like that. And look, it's a business. That's the way it's got to go. But I don't think anyone puts anything on the air hoping to cancel it over 1 year. Like, I don't think Netflix puts a show on the air and is like, nope, 12 episodes and we're done. I think everybody puts everything on the air with the best intentions and the best hope for the most part. I think we have to believe in that world or we're so screwed. Do you know what I mean? But it's challenging right now. It's challenging for creators when we don't have the tools to know whether a show is successful or not, because we don't know what it's being judged by. Do you know what I mean? Like Winona Earp's social media's numbers were insane. Like still higher than anything Sci-Fi's gotten, or NBCU, like just massive. Like thank you so much, you guys. Yeah, yeah. But in this day and age, like trying to build a fandom and get that kind of loyalty and that kind of noise is so difficult that to me, I was like, isn't that more important than Nielsen ratings, which seemed kind of random to me. But it's tricky. I don't want any of the fear of how you may be judged to stop any of you from creating shit. Do you know what I mean? I think that's really important. Like, you can't be finished before you start. You have to hope that you're going to go for 20 seasons and everyone in the world is going to watch it. Like, so I try not to let that stuff get too in my head. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah. So here's another fan-submitted question.
Okay.
Do you think Way Hot has changed anything?
Oh my God, I hope so. Yeah. It certainly has changed our cast and our crew. I think it has. I feel like that's arrogant to say, but yeah, I was so proud of the 402 stair scene. Like, I was so proud that that got put on television, on cable television, and like, you know? Like, no matter what happens, we were here and we stayed. Does that make sense? Like, it existed. We saw it. They can't go back. Like, that's what I feel like. So, I mean, I like to think Way Hot changed a lot. Yes, I don't want to be arrogant about it, but God, I hope so. Even if it inspires other queer creators, that's enough for me. That's enough for me. Yeah. Yeah.
So then I have to ask, going on a happy side,
Good.
beyond the sexy stairs,
Yes.
what was your favorite sequence that happened between Waverly and Nicole?
Oh my God, there's so many.
Rattle off however many you want.
I mean, I just think I show that scene where they first meet in 102 over and over and over in my workshop as just a master class of like chemistry you can't even pray for. Like, just something about it was next level. I think the first kiss in 109 with the scarf was incredible. I have some slightly weird ones. I really love the scene after Dolls has died. I think it's 304, where they're going through Dolls' apartment and like they just having a really frank conversation. I feel like even being privileged enough to be being put those conversations on screen felt really good, you know? I like You're So Pretty and I Like You So Much. I like that vulnerability. And I like the alternate universe where you just see that they are just meant to be together despite everything. That kind of idea of like karma and destiny, even for two characters who are queer, was amazing. So I got a lot of them. Yeah.
So then conversely,
Okay. Which one do you not like?
what was the most difficult and which one did you really not like?
Between Nicole and Waverly?
Yeah, were there any that you had to, because I remember in your After Dark, you
Yes.
mentioned that there were some things you just put your foot in the ground, you're like, no.
Yeah.
But there are others that you must compromise on. Were there any there? And did you really not want to do that?
I never felt pushed into doing something I didn't want to do, but I feel like there are things that I did that I would do differently. You guys probably don't remember it, but there was a scene in a hot tub. See, I know, but I also thought like, that was interesting. That was complicated. That was a way to create drama where nobody got shot. Do you know what I mean? Like, sorry. I'm sorry you guys have never kissed anyone else when you were drunk. But it's more like, it's not so much Waverly and Nicole, so much as like seeing now what Kat brought to the table and how beloved Nicole was. I wish we'd done more Nicole backstory and stuff like that a little bit. Yeah, like, I would have loved to see Nicole like be part of BBD, for example, and stuff like that. But I'm kind of like a shark swimming forward. Like, I don't want, like, there's something in every episode I think could be better, and there's things in every episode that I still think are delightful. So, again, it's the champagne thing that the cast talked about yesterday, right? The imperfections make it messy and real, I think, so.
So season 5, Baby Nicole stories.
Say season 5, Baby Nicole stories. Yep, it's going to be amazing. Gillian Anderson, Mrs. Hot. Yep. Yeah, let's get it done. Let's get
Can
it
Lucy
done.
Lawless be her girlfriend too?
Lucy Lawless,
Okay.
her other mom. Yep, perfect. Sigourney Weaver, her grandma. And then Helen Mirren, her great grandmother. Perfect. Yeah, just knock them, just line them up. Line them up. So, yeah.
I think the network would eat that up. So then the question is, if mainstream TV shows,
Yeah.
they know there's a queer audience,
Yes.
what, in your humble opinion, do you think is stopping that? Because they know we're here.
I am going to tell you what is stopping it. We need more queer decision makers at the top. We need executives at the top who understand the audience and who gives a fuck if the Midwest gets it or not. They got Will and Grace, they'll figure it out. Like, it's fine. Like, everyone has a gay relative now. Suck it up. Like, that's what I feel like. So honestly, I feel like it's the people who are making the decisions who have to be bolder and braver, and we need to lift up more queer power players, to be honest. That is the truth. That's what I think. Yeah.
So I'm going to shift a little bit and ask a fan question.
Okay.
This user wants to know, to what extent were you aware of the line, "Where you go, I go," was from the movie Fried Green Tomatoes?
I think that was deep in my subconscious. I want to tell you that, I want to tell you that I plucked it out. I love that movie, Fried Green Tomatoes. It's so good, though. I was not aware, but I'm sure it was buried deep down. I think I rip stuff off all the time that I've seen, steal from the best, right? Buffy is basically a photocopy. Why not? It's like a photocopy of Buffy. I wasn't that aware, and then I was so delighted when fans started saying it, but I just kept quiet instead of claiming that I did that on purpose. Yeah.
So then I'm going to pull it back to the serious stuff.
Okay.
Because that's just my role.
Okay. You're the straight man. Gotcha. Yeah.
Theoretically. So you said we need more people in the room at the TED.
Yeah.
How do we get there?
I don't know. It also, now I'm going to sound like a hypocrite. It also comes from the bottom. I think if there's a hungry LGBTQ audience demanding more queer content, some straight white guy is going to be like, we need to hire a lesbian up in here. I know that sounds crazy, but that's kind of how it's going to go. It's just going to take time. It's also going to be things I can do myself is foster diversity and queerness in my writing room. Do you know what I mean? They do have to be, people have to be trained, right? They have to be trained to become decision makers and showrunners and stuff like that. So just demand better. One thing that is good now is you can't hide that much. We're all on social media and we know the makeup of a writing room and we know the makeup behind the scenes of Warner Brothers or what have you. Do you know what I mean? So demanding better from you guys is important. And then those of us who do have even a tiny bit of power need to lift up people who haven't had a voice yet to tell their own stories. I think that's critical. So, yeah. Yeah.
So another fan question. They want to know, if another season of Winona were to happen,
Woo! Let's do it. Sure, yes. My answer is yes. No.
what kinds of conflict do you envision for the characters, given how wonderfully the 4th season ended?
Thank you. Oh, there's so much left to tell. I actually think Way Hot Without Winona is kind of interesting. I think she's batshit chaos on a stick, but I don't know. Marriage is tough. The first year of marriage is tough, and I think Nicole being responsible for the whole Ghost River Triangle and being determined to do it a different way, whether that's possible or not, would be interesting. And then I don't think Waverly has resolved her Dark Angel issues at all. Sorry, guys, we got to put her back in put them back in the costume. There's always more, right? There's always more family. Who's in charge? All that stuff. I love the storyline where Nicole commits to being the Angel's shield, but look, it would be difficult to be in the prison that the Revenants were in, right? Like, that's kind of the truth, right? Now Nicole can't leave, and like, surely there are circumstances where someone's in danger outside of the Ghost River Triangle, and like, does Waverly go and Nicole doesn't? Like, oh, I got tons. Tons. Yeah.
So then the question following that.
Yeah.
Did you have anything like written down and jotted down and organized for going back?
For season 5?
Yeah.
Oh, tons, yeah. At one point, we thought we had season 5. And we saw it as a 22-episode season. So we did kind of have to shave things off. Like, when we first started breaking season 4, we thought season 5 was a given. So we did 22 episodes, like, just vaguely, right? And then we had to truncate things, which is why it's like, oh, she's an angel. Oh, my God, this is horrible. But I want her to step on my neck, so who cares? It's great. Yeah, we definitely have more, and like, I often tell this story, like, when I pitched the finale, you know, in typical cliffhanger fashion, I had the mailbox in the ending, and then I had one more ending, which was like, maybe Eve coming back to purgatory, disguised as someone we knew, right? But then I always remember this. I've told the story, but I pitched my friend Josh at Sci-Fi, who was our executive forever and was such a huge ally, just an incredible person. He always pushed for more Wyatt Doc shit, so I love that. He was like, what was going on there? And I was like, a lot. But I remember pitching him, and he's like a very, like, you know, together guy, and he got really emotional, and he was like, the mailbox is your ending. The mailbox is your ending. Like, don't do that. I promise we'll find a way to come back and we'll do the Eve storyline. So I'm holding him to that, and someday we will, in one way or another. Yeah.
So back to Sirius. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
I'm all over the map. I love it.
Okay. Considering we discussed cancellations, and obviously we're all still fighting for a season 5.
Yeah.
How difficult will it be, or would it be, to try to pitch this amazing queer storyline that has a wonderful backing
Yeah.
to another streamer or
Yeah.
a network of any kind?
I mean, it's so boring, but a lot of the delay was business related. Like, certain networks, Netflix owns certain like rights, and like even starting to pitch other networks, you had to let rights expire, and then COVID got in the way. Like, I truly have every confidence that we will get you more ERP. I know we will. If we have to build a movie, we will. I know we will. Yeah, I know we will. I know we will. I know we will. And like, I don't want to promise anything, but there are things in play to fill the void in the meantime that may be coming your way. Like, we promise, okay? We got more ERP stories. Lots of people are paying attention to all of this. They are. You're a loud, beautiful bunch. Okay, hard to ignore. I think even like, you know, the other thing is like, regimes change all the time in television. So like, I'm not sure the current people at Sci-Fi haven't noticed that. Like, maybe we should have done a season 5. I don't know. Like, I don't know. I'm putting it on them. But like, it wouldn't be that hard to do a movie or a season 5 or a spinoff or Winona Earp, Baby Alice edition, sexy Baby Alice, right? Like, I just think like, I'm not unconfident. This is a phenomenon that does not happen very often. So, medium hard. That's what I would say, medium hard.
Okay, so shifting back,
Yeah.
fan-related question.
Yeah.
Gay or straight, should a show ever end with the death of a character?
It can. Yes, a show can end with the death of a character. I absolutely think so. The Sopranos, great, amazing. P.S. Spoiler alert, I think he died. I don't, see, this is the challenge as a writer. I don't want to make the rules too rigid. Does that make sense? I don't want to say you can never do this, because so much incredible art is like, holy shit, they did that. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to say you can never end with the death of a character. Of course you can. Breaking Bad, great. These are all straight white male examples, but like, honestly, right? Like, what other fate could those characters have? That's a great story, right? No, I think death is a part of life, and I think pretending it's not. It's the ultimate ending too. That's the truth, right? So, no, I don't believe a show can't end with the death of a character. I think that's fine. I think it has to be earned. My thing I always say is audiences love being surprised, but don't trick them. Do not trick them. Do not make them feel like the time they invested in your art and your content was worthless. That's what I don't like, because you want to feel clever for a moment. We put too much emphasis on being clever over being satisfying. I think having a satisfying ending is delicious. Life is hard. Let's have some fun. Let's feel good, right? Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So another fan-related question. If Nicole Hott didn't have a bulletproof vest, how would you make her survive that?
Some really sexy scars, if chicks dig scars, I guess. No. If she didn't have a bulletproof vest, you see this a lot on TV where people get shot in the shoulder because, like, it's the one spot I think you can survive. Everyone who's in law enforcement can tell me that's not true later. But, like, I think we would have just made it so that she got shot but survived. Do you know what I mean? I think that's it. But I love the bulletproof vest because it made her smart. Like,
Yes.
I like that she was like, you guys cannot, she has figured out that this is a batshit town full of supernatural shit that no one is telling her about. Like, it just made you fall in love with her on another level. And also in that moment, Winona was like, she's a smart one, right? Like, it did so much character work. That's the best kind of writing solution where you're like, this does double duty. It both gives you drama, but also is incredible character detail, I think. So, I mean, I did like the choice that Willa actually shot her. Like, I love pushing it to the limit. Like, I like cutting off Waverly's hand before the commercial break. Sorry. Like, I was like, oh my God, I want them to see the hand. Like that's crazy. Like, that's what's fun about storytelling is like trying to solve problems in a way that is satisfying, and hopefully that's exhilarating for you guys, right? That's very much like the Pixar model. They're really like, they like to write themselves into problems and then come up with really creative ways to get out of them, and like, that should be gratifying. Yeah. Sorry? When I drowned Nicole, exactly. I've drowned a few characters on my shows, actually. A bathtub is cheap. A bathtub is cheap, so, yeah.
Sorry, I went to the frogs right
Yeah,
away.
stay in Frob. Yeah, not in Frob. Yeah.
So then I'm going to give you the final few moments
Okay.
to, if there's anything you want to say to anybody who is trying to get into the industry, trying to get their voices heard, and fight the stigmas, fight the bury your gays, and even perpetuate the marry your gays and the crap we go through when we're married.
Yeah.
I love you.
Did you guys see that? Come talk to me later. It's Sunday. No, just kidding.
I will sleep in the car.
No, you'll be fine.
What would you say to them and
Okay.
how to get started and what to do?
So this is the thing I want to tell you. Okay. It's good story first. Good story first. You create an amazing, good story, and then you stock it full of the queer characters that you love, but people just want to be entertained. You got to put the dog's medicine in the Jell-O. I don't know if that's a saying. Do you know what I mean? And I'm not calling it medicine, but I mean, here is what is going to succeed: a show that is great and entertaining and good TV, and then you do not have to apologize or compromise on anything. You have to have an amazing show and then do it. But the other thing I would say is, we desperately need your voice right now, and there is an audience out there for you. So if you're even like kind of thinking of creating something that does reflect Marry Your Gays versus Bury Your Gays, please, please, please keep going. Like, this is the time, more than ever, honestly. We're all out there. It is changing. I feel like you see it every day. We're gonna win. I say that all the time. I know we're gonna win. Look at us. We're gonna win, right? Yeah.
So I know we're ending a few minutes early, but there's a reason for that. I do want to thank the tech team in the back for making sure we have sound and everything and making me look not stupid. But I wanted everyone to have a moment to thank the woman who gave us our happy ending.
Hey. Thank you. Thank you. No. Thank you. Thank you, loves. Listen. All right. Thank you. This is so un-Canadian. This is so un-Canadian. No. Listen. you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I love you guys. Listen.
Thank
Listen.
you, everybody, for coming for such an important panel.
I couldn't have done it without you guys supporting me at all. I couldn't have done it without being able to show everybody that you were along for the journey. So thank you so much. I love you guys. It has been the honor of a lifetime. Thank you. This is such a hilarious panel.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, you guys. Let's give it up for our amazing moderators, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, you guys.